episodes are really more of guidelines than actual rules.
Here's something gross. Fun fact.
We're breaking all the rules.
Jessiez Rules.
I rule.
Welcome to Jessiez Rules. There's no rules but Jessiez Rules. I am your host, Jessiez Rules. Welcome to episode 4. I am super stoked to tell you guys that I have an interview that I have been trying to get for 3 years. I used to do a different podcast, and this year I am going solo. I went for it, I asked again, and I got a sure, Jessie. Today I will be talking to Jake Bushnell. I'm so excited. I'll be talking to Jake Bushnell. I am a huge fan of Jake B. He comes from my favorite podcast in the entire world, Feeling Good with Daddy, which no longer is running, but it is still my favorite. I actually ran the Facebook fan page for that. It was called the FGWD Bunker, and it is where I met some of my bestest friends in the wide world that gave me the last 3 years of business and experience and like just so much love and friendship and learning and so much good in my life I owe to Feeling Good with Daddy, just because of the wonderful people that came from the fan group of that podcast. Jake was co-host to that. It was him and his brother, Daddy B, of the Dirty Heads. They started the podcast, and they kind of got all of us through COVID when like the world shut down, when we all needed people the most. It went from just a podcast and a group of fans to a legit music family. Like the Dirty Heads always had the Wileys, and Jake Bushnell has his own music. You can look him up on all music platforms, Jake Bushnell. But he also had HB Surround Sound, and their music is doing amazing right now too, ironically, which, you know, they're all adults now and they don't perform together, but they all still know each other and they still play music together, but their old stuff is hitting it off. So I think that's pretty cool. So Jake Bushnell has music. He did a podcast. He has the Morning Ride Show, which is, it's not so much a podcast, but it's a live show. He goes live on his Instagram and just rants, talks about shit, talks about music, talks about movie reviews, but they're like funny and sarcastic. And, you know, he says it himself. Like, he's like, I could write any movie better than it's already been written, but it's funny. It's not everybody's humor, but it is my humor, and I enjoy the shit out of that. We got to see Jake go through life, and that's one thing that now people are experiencing with me is they're watching me go through life, and fuck, life has been up and down and crazy. It always comes out good. It always turns good. And we got to see Jake have a baby. You know, we were fans before Rocky was born, and now Rocky's there with his dad and his mom in their very own barbershop. It's pretty cool to be able to call them friends and have this chance to chat. I take my kids there. Well, I take my son there to get his haircut. Any chance I get, I'll pop in just to say hello because I absolutely adore them. I think they're great people. And I'm just so happy that I got the chance to sit down with him and have this interview. He told me no for so long, you guys. He told me absolutely not. And that's one thing I love about Jake is he's very honest. And it might hurt your feelings sometimes. It's hurt my feelings before. But people need honesty because not everything is supposed to feel good in your feelings. Not everything's about feelings. So, you know, what do you want for dinner? That's not supposed to hurt anybody's feelings. It's just a question. But we all get all butts are sometimes. Jake's not that kind of person. He's just like, you just answer the question and you move on. Who cares? And I know that's a terrible example, but I absolutely love the kind of person he is. I love their family. I love his music. I love his haircuts. And I absolutely love that he took the time to do this with me. But there's something else about this interview. I recorded this interview before I spoke to Native Leaves, the band that was in episode 3. I've been holding on to this interview. This interview is like a wrap-up of all of my life lessons. Feeling Good with Daddy was a huge time in my life where I was going through endless change. I found the podcast Feeling Good with Daddy because my life was falling apart. But I didn't have like a thing. I didn't have a sports team that I was rooting for. I didn't have a sport that I obsessed over. I had music. I had the Dirty Heads. I found the Dirty Heads because I grew up in rodeo. I was a total rodeo brat, dirt boogers, cattle prongs, electric fences, the works, okay? When I found out that I was free to like do whatever I wanted, I made a hard shift from country music into California reggae. And I went from Cottonmouth Kings, which was just a little too hardcore for me, to Dirty Heads. I found Dirty Heads, and then I found Lay Me Down with Sublime with Rome. That got me into the California reggae scene. Everybody loves Bob Marley. Being a fan of the Dirty Heads, I figured out quickly that that was my thing. I was going through a divorce where I kind of felt like I had lost all of my friends and I lost all of my in-laws and I lost all of these, you know, the normal, regular life that I had. At the same time, I was learning that I had Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and that most of my health issues and mental health issues and struggles and why I barfed all the time, all that shit, it all was for a reason. It was Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I was diagnosed with a chronic illness. My body was falling apart. My marriage fell apart. All my friendships fell apart. And I had nothing except music and art. And so I just dove into that full force. I was annoying. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. I was divorced. I had nothing but my weirdness and my art. And Jake and Duddy started a podcast. Duddy was the guitar player for my favorite band, the Dirty Heads, and it was all I had. And it was like this tight little community. It was just a few of us, and it was so fucking cool. But we couldn't chat, and we couldn't like be friends and communicate. I reached out to Anthony, Gentle Giant Digital, who was doing the Dirty Heads live streams, and he was doing all of the editing and recording for the podcast. I reached out to Anthony and was like, is there a way that you guys could do a Facebook page so that I can like have a chance to like talk to these people? Because these are the only people I relate to in the entire world right now. And it was literally 25 of us. It was not that many. Anthony's just like, Jesse, we don't have time for your guys' bullshit. Said with love. Basically, he just was like, we don't have time just to do something just for you guys to chat. You are free to do it. Go ahead. So we came up with the name The Bunker because the studio where they recorded, they called The Bunker. And so this was our FGWD Facebook bunker. I found my people. I found my weirdos. They accepted my annoying, chaotic, ADHD, undiagnosed self. They allowed me to be weird. And you know what? They supported the little family that we had. And it was fucking cool. Any podcast and like any fucking time period like that, it did fade out and it got weird. And it always gets a little bit tough before something like that ends. I relate so fucking hard now. I did my other podcast in Nameless production for 3 years. I'm pretty sure it was 3 years. And it was beautiful and it was cool and we did amazing, amazing things. But it had to end, just like everything has to end. Nothing goes on forever. It was really fucking hard, but I already watched it happen. And I saw Jake go through it. Jake was able to offer advice to me. And so when I went into the barbershop, Michelle Nichetsky, she's a beautiful, amazing photographer, Pennsylvania, I believe. She lives in Pennsylvania, and if I'm wrong, Google that shit. I don't fucking know. Shelly Fox Photography, she does amazing, amazing photos. She was in town for 1 day. I met Michelle Nichetsky through Feeling Good with Duddy. She is one of my bunker family. She was going to be in Southern California for 1 day. Within 3 hours of me, I drove my ass down to the beach and she met me at Jake's new barbershop. The barbershop we watched him create and come up with and work his way up to via fans of his on the internet. So me and Michelle met at Nice Day Barbershop. I took my son, he got his hair cut, and I just looked at Jake and I was like, come on, man, I'm here. Will you do it? And he said, sure. And it was amazing. And you know what? We restarted this interview 12 fucking times. Maybe I'm exaggerating 2 or 3 extra ones, but I recorded an interview and then we left. And as I was getting into my car, he grabbed me and he was like, Jessie, do you think you can do better? All right, so I meet Michelle at the barbershop and Jake says, sure, okay? While I'm there, I get a message from my ex-husband. We have a ring attached to my house. My ex-husband gets a notification and says, where's Kyle? And I said, I locked him in the house. What do you mean? And he goes, well, he's in the front yard. I'm 2 hours away from my house. My dog got into my son's room, got through the window, onto the roof, and jumped off the roof, and then proceeded to bark at people in the front yard for fucking 2 hours or an hour until my ex-husband was closer than me, so he left work early to come home to get my damn dog. I'm standing in the barbershop, frazzled as fuck. Jake already agreed to do this interview, and I'm just like, yes, I'm going to do it still. And he's like, you don't have to do it. Is everything okay? Do you need to leave? And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. We are doing this. I have wanted this interview for so fucking long, and I'm not giving it up for my stupid dog jumping off a roof. Fuck Kyle. I do the interview and I rush through it, and it's a little bit weird and it's a little bit awkward and uncomfortable, and I go to get in my car and he's getting in his car because he's done for the day, and he just stops and he goes, you know what, Jessie, do you think you could do better? And I said, yeah. And he goes, all right, come here, let's talk. And he just stands there for a minute and literally just gives me the most helpful advice anybody has given me for this whole working on my own solo journey. Everything he said, he knew I needed to hear. It was just so fucking nice. It's things that I'm in denial about. But his number one thing that will always stick in my head, and it was the one piece of advice that I needed to hear to be able to make myself do this and believe in myself and have a good time, was, why is anybody watching this show? Are you guys watching because you are a fan of the people I talk to? Well, no, you probably haven't even fucking heard of them or care about them. You're watching this show because of me, and you're going to care about these people because of me. And so if I don't believe it and I don't care about it, why the fuck would any of you? And I'm sure he didn't say fuck. I said fuck when I paraphrased and summarized, but it was game changer advice because I kind of go out of my way to not focus on myself like that. And how are you going to be the star of your own show and not think that you're the most important character of the show, especially if you're the only character of the show? So I needed that. I needed that, Jake. I needed that. And you know what else he did was every time I would start and I would fuck up, nope, start over, do it again. Do it again. Start over, do it again. Start over, do it again. And he made me do it again until I did it right. Because he knew I could. And he knew I needed to. And I got so used to, in my old podcasts and old habits of, I'll just fix it in editing. Fuck that. Don't plan on working harder later. Do it right the first time. So I appreciate you more than you know, Jake. You probably know, but fuck. Thank you guys. Thank you for doing this for me. Thank you for doing this with me. Thank you for sticking around, and thank you for the friendship, for your friendship and for all the friendships you helped me get, because Feeling Good with Daddy, it was just a podcast, but it was absolutely life-changing. It's magical, and I don't know if you guys are going to see the magic in him, but he's fucking magical, and enjoy.
I'm Jessiez. I'm here with Jake Bushnell. He is a barber. We are at his brand new barbershop. I first met him from a podcast he did with his brother who plays guitar for the Dirty Heads. I'm a huge Dirty Heads fan. Now I'm a huge Jake fan. My son just got a bitchin' haircut, and I would like to pick his brain. So where are we? What are we doing?
We're at Nice Day Barbershop. It's my brand new barbershop I opened 3 months ago in Huntington Beach, California. That's where I grew up. So perfect place to open the shop. And yeah, I've been a barber for 10 years, and finally I opened my own spot.
Was that always the goal?
Yeah, I think anyone that becomes a barber, or probably a hairstylist or anything, I'm sure the dream is always in the back of your head to own your own shop. And then typically what happens is you start barbering somewhere, and then, you know, some people realize they don't love barbering, or some people get really comfortable just working at someone else's shop because you have none of the risk.
Yeah.
And then a select few are like, no, I gotta have my own thing. And I kind of always knew I'd eventually have my own thing. Took me about 9 years of barbering to get it. Now I got it.
So we watched Feeling Good with Daddy. We followed the podcast that he co-hosted, and that went on during COVID. During COVID, all of barbering crashed.
Crushed. And so did music. So my brother, who was in the Dirty Heads, found himself with no shows to play, nothing. And me, the barbershop I used to work at in Long Beach, shut down, leaving my brother and me with nothing to do but podcast. Yeah.
And so that's where they got fans, and they have like a very strong following. Jake still does a morning ride show podcast.
I have a little live morning show I do on Instagram. Very small listener base, but Jesse's one of them. Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is so amazing is that now it's 2024. We watched you go from having absolutely no career, even legal at the time, to now owning your own shop.
Yeah.
Do you have advice for people starting over or starting new or starting fresh?
Well, I guess here's the thing. Like, yeah, COVID hit and it messed up so many people's lives, right? Anyone who was a musician, tours are over, and barbers got hit really hard because we just were not deemed, what was it, like necessary? We weren't deemed necessary, so barbershops were just shut down. I guess this is what I'll say. That was a horrifying time for barbers and people whose careers got kind of destroyed for a bit. But out of that came creativity, right?
Yes.
Left with nothing to do, my brother and I dove into our podcast. We had started the Feeling Good with Duddy podcast kind of right before COVID hit. But because COVID hit, we dove into that podcast world and started a whole new creative journey. And a lot of people did that. Some people switched careers, whatever it was. But I guess what I would say is now that COVID's behind us, and since who knows, I might have still been just cutting hair at the barbershop in Long Beach if COVID never happened, because I was comfortable there. I was making good money. All I can say is I was made to be uncomfortable. My career was deemed illegal, as you said. But once the dust settled on COVID and the world opened back up, I had a long time to kind of sit with myself, and I had this epiphany of, if I'm going to start barbering again, I'm just going to start my own shop. And that led me here. So in a weird way, COVID was a good thing for me. You know, I got to stay home with my son and be a stay-at-home dad for about a year, which was kind of cool. And then, now that the world's opened back up, I started my own shop. I had a little bit of money left, and the government gave me money finally for kicking me out of my job. I was smart enough to save a little bit of that. And with that little nest egg, I bought a few chairs, found a shop that was small enough that I could afford the monthly rent, and here I am. So, you know, it's hard to give anyone advice on starting anything. Just do what you love, right? I absolutely love barbering. So, you know, not everyone loves what they do. I love barbering. So it is a pleasure for me to barber. So that is what gave me the motivation to start my own shop. I'm going to do what I love anyway. I guess if there's any advice to be found there, try to find something that you like to do. I know I'm not going to be a millionaire owning this barbershop. There's 3 chairs. I can make a decent living, but I'm going to love doing it.
Yeah.
Find something you love. And I will say this to people, find a skill. I was a musician until I was 33. I was touring the country trying to be a punk rocker. And then I was faced with being in my mid-30s and having no other skill besides playing drums. So I got a barber license, and it's allowed me to do the things I'm doing now. So if I can give advice to anyone, get a skill that you can go anywhere and do. A mechanic, a barber, a freaking air conditioning, technician, anything like that. And at least you know you've got something to fall back on, and that will allow you to feel comfortable trying other things.
There's this advice that there's 3 things. You pick one for like your mentality, which would be music for you. You pick one for your health, which Jake is a runner, and then one that you can use to make money that you enjoy, which would be barbering.
Oh, I've never heard that, but that's awesome. And that plays perfectly into me. Because yes, I do run, and I ain't going to win any races, but I show up, right? And I still play music. I still release music all the time. Not very many people listen to it, but I still do it. But the barbershop is where I can actually be successful. So yeah, that's actually a cool little 3 thing. I never heard that, but that does make sense. And
I like that one.
Unknowingly, I've applied that to my life.
So he does have music. It's Jake B. Look it up. Also HB Surround
Jake
Sound.
Bushnell.
Jake Bushnell.
Okay.
Oh.
iTunes, Spotify. You put in Jake B, God knows what you're going to hear. And if you put in Jake Bushnell, I can guarantee you're going to hear some really bad stuff. So, no, I'm just kidding. I like my music.
Music is part of the style of the barbershop as well. There's like, it's not heavy, it's not in your face, it's very calm and comforting, and the playlists are killer when you come in. That's one thing that I do enjoy when we come here.
Yeah, that's true. If you want to hear what I'm listening to in this barbershop, I've created a Spotify playlist, Nice Day Barbershop. All the songs are on there. Some Dirty Head songs, some songs from my old band, HB Surround Sound, and some of my new music too. Yes, I shamelessly threw some of my jams in there.
Okay, and one question, because I really very much enjoy Jake's movie reviews. That is why I watch his Morning Ride podcast. I love the reviews. I love how he can break down movies and say that it should not have been written that way. But as a barber, I want to know which movie has the most wrong or inappropriate hair that is in the movie.
I don't know which one has the most, but I know what you're getting at, because I'm very nitpicky when it comes to movies and television, and I think I'm a better writer than everybody. I'm sure all of us do. I Monday morning quarterback every show I watch. I really do get annoyed when there's hair that's out of time, right? It's a medieval show and someone's got a perfect skin fade, or like the newest offering from Amazon Prime, the Lord of the Rings, just disaster that they put out. I think it was called Rings of Power. Yeah. There was an elf with a perfect lineup. I'm talking a hip hop lineup with ice picks. He's an elf, yo. He lives in Mordor, so I don't know who's lining them up in Mordor, but they've got a very good barbershop. So things like that, they do take me right out of the show. Or like, yeah, you know, I'll never forget. And I know that the Romans were actually known for being decently hygienic, but yeah. I famously at a very young age had a strong issue with the Gladiator film. Yes, Russell Crowe. And it wasn't Russell Crowe, but it was one of the slaves and the people that he was fighting with. Perfect. I'm talking perfect, shiny white teeth. And all I could do was be like, dude, who's got Colgate? And, you know, it was just... So things like that, they tend to take me out of the deal.
These things bother me too. Like they catch me off guard, and I'm like, that's not an alien thing. Or when people are perfectly shaved and they're supposed to be like an Amazon woman and they don't even have armpit hair.
Come on, yo.
Which it would be a little stranger to see armpit hair or shaggy, dirty people, but that's what the movie is for.
It would surely, sell the world to you, mentally. Yeah. I do get annoyed, but I also notice good haircuts in movies too. I'll be watching shows and I'll be like, damn, I'll tell you what, whoever's doing the haircuts for the British baking show is a good barber.
Ooh.
There's some very good fades, and everyone's hair looks good on that show except for the host. What's up with the long-haired... What is that guy doing with his style? The huge sweatshirts, very creepy cast of hosts sometimes on that show. But whoever's cutting the hair is the hair and makeup department. Kudos,
That's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, so he's in Huntington. He has Nice Day Barbershop. He does amazing haircuts. My kid feels styling right now. How can people support you? What can people do to help you?
So the barbershop, obviously you probably got to be local to come, but it's nicedaybarbershop.com. You can learn all about the shop there. You can book appointments there. You can watch me on the Morning Ride show on Instagram. You can join the 7 of us that watch that show. I'm the host, of course.
It's a good time.
And my son, Rocky, every Thursday, he's a co-host on the show. You can listen to my music, Jake Bushnell, iTunes, Spotify. I just dropped a song, Quiet Town, a couple months ago. That's it, Yeah, listen to my music. It would be cool.
There's also merch. You can buy merch at the barbershop.
This is one of our hats. Yeah, we got barbershop merch. That's on the website, nicedaybarbershop.com.
And it's all really nice, too. Like, it's things, if he wouldn't wear it, he's not going to sell it.
No. Yeah, nothing crazy, nothing wild. It's very timeless, simple merch, like this. Someone could be wearing this in 1912. Someone could be wearing this 30 years from now. It's acceptable. All right? Yeah. Timeless stuff.
So I've always had respect for you. I appreciate watching you grow. And, we saw you make something out of nothing. And it was just magical and inspiring. And I'm happy to call you a friend. And I'm very, very grateful to be here. And thank you for giving me your time.
Yeah, no problem. Jessie's always supported my brother, supported me. And And we've even made fun of her in the past, and she still just is, cool. So yeah, Jessie, it's no problem, man. I'm happy to give the interview.
All right.
And thanks for always being cool to me and my family.
Always. And it's family friendly, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
They're absolutely amazing.
Very much a family shop, kids welcome and all that stuff.
And then they'll leave looking super good.
Oh yeah.
All right.
It was amazing. It really was amazing. I went in with unprepared, and then I left more prepared for my entire career than I thought was possible. You can absolutely tell I was not prepared for the interview. I didn't even have makeup on. Which is weird for me because normally on these shows, I planned on doing full body makeup every time, body painting. And then I roll up to do this interview. I had no makeup on. I had no time to do makeup. I was just like, fuck it. I'm here. He said yes. We're going to do this shit. It's on like Donkey Kong. Let's fucking go. And we did. And you know what? Not only did I do one interview, I did 12. I left there going, oh, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm going to do. And this is how I'm going to do it. And I know that I have people there backing me up who can offer me those little bits that I'm going to need anytime I falter. Because they learned those bits, and these are people who I know have faith in me to do this shit. Because I was there for them doing it. I was helping them do it. These are the people that I helped before. I had a habit of growing other people's names. I worked my ass off for Duddy and Jake, and the whole time they're just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Thank you. Yes, thank you. Good job. But what are you doing? And you know what? I just didn't think that I was worth doing it in my own name. I didn't think that Jessiez Rules was a reason to do anything. Now I know that Jessiez Rules is. It's enough. And that's fucking cool. And just hearing it's enough. You just have to know that it's enough. You are enough. Damn. I could have cried. It means a ton when people that you love and respect believe in you. But it means more when you believe in yourself. Jake set me up to succeed. Jake gave me the advice that he knew I needed and that I was lacking. And I was lacking. I was doing a bad job. I wasn't doing my best. I needed to hear the things that he said. This is one of the reasons I love the Morning Ride Show, because that motherfucker will say the things that the other people aren't going to say. And they might hurt your feelings, but you need to hear them. I needed to hear exactly what he said to me. And it was amazing and beautiful. And then the very next day, I got the opportunity to interview Native Leaves, and I fucking killed it. And I really owe the success of episode 3 and that interview and how comfortable it felt to Jake and episode 4, because I did record this one before episode 3, and I just had to hold on to it because it was a little bit more emotional. I don't know. I held on to this one just because I needed to let it stew a little bit more. I didn't want to make it funny. I didn't want to make it weird and over the top. I wanted this one to be straightforward. I wanted this one to be a little bit more about me, because a lot of me doing this podcast came from Jake doing his podcast. Dang, it felt really cool to have the pat on the back and the hug and the support and the advice. Thank you, Jake. Thank you. And if you guys are in the Huntington Beach or Newport or Southern California area, Nice Day Barbershop, go get cleaned up. And HB Surround Sound and Jake Bushnell, stream all their music, all of it, all day long. And then also check out the playlist that he said on Spotify, because he has some really nice music set up. They're really good collections to listen to if you just want to jam out. Peace.